Let's set those week 2 lineups right now on Fantasy Football Today in 5. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Let's get a win here in week 2. Adam Aizer and Heath Cummings, and let's run through the news and start with the tight ends. Kelsey and Andrews, good to put them in our lineups?
Start them.
All right. Austin Eckler is doubtful. That probably means he's not going to play. He says, Brandon Staley says not a high ankle sprain, which is good. They're at Tennessee this week. Where do you have Josh Kelly ranked in your rankings?
He is a low-end number 2 running back. You have to be a little bit worried about the matchup. These Titans, I think, showed us last week they're still a very good run defense. I wouldn't expect Kelly to be efficient, but he's got decent touchdown odds, and I would still expect him to catch 4 or 5 passes.
What about Jerry Jeudy? I've been excited about him, and there's no pitch count reportedly. Practiced in full. Are you ready to put him in your lineup, Jerry Jeudy, against Washington?
I'm maybe the wrong guy to ask because I had him as a mid-range number 3 wide receiver in draft season, so I never viewed him as a must-start guy. I think in his first game back especially, I know where they say there's no pitch count, I would view him as more of a low-end boom-bust number 3 wide receiver.
Who's the best wide receiver in that game? Washington.
I will in that game?
Yeah.
Or on the Broncos? I would go Dotson, then McLaurin, then Jeudy, then Sutton.
All right. Let's talk about the Texans offense. CJ Stroud is going to reportedly play through a shoulder injury, but Laramie Tunsil is not expected to play, and their line is really beat up against the Colts. Do we have a sleeper DST there? And what do you think about Dameon Pierce and Nico Collins? What do you think?
Nobody in this game and this team is better than a flex. Pierce would be my first choice, just barely over Collins. I think you could reasonably play either DST, but I don't really want to. I don't think there's nobody on a bye this week, so I don't want to use these teams. It could be really rough, low scoring game.
All right, we got to talk about some big time wide receivers. Future Hall of Famer Puka Nacua is reportedly going to play. Sean McVay said as much over the weekend. So that's good news against the 49ers. Starter sit Puka Nacua.
He's a high-end number 3 or a low-end number 2 wide receiver. Going back to those Washington Broncos wide receivers, Dotson's the only one in that game that I would start over Nacua.
All right, DeAndre Hopkins is expected to play. Do you trust him against the Chargers?
I would start him over any of the Commanders or Broncos. I would start him over Puka Nacua. I had him as a low-end number 1 wide receiver, and I didn't think there was any question that he would play. He was more of a low-end number 2 wide receiver, but I think he's right in that Garrett Wilson range. You probably just start him.
Brandon Cooks is not expected to play, but for week 2, this is really not too significant because it's the Jets. We're not going to go and stream Michael Gallup against the Jets or anything. I've picked up Michael Gallup. I think he was only available in one league where it made sense for me. But if this lingers, maybe you have something there, but you're not going to start him against the Jets. Let's go to the Packers here. They're at Atlanta, and they are likely to be without Christian Watson and Aaron Jones. So who's a better flex, Romeo Doubs or A.J. Dillon?
I view A.J. Dillon as a starter. So I'm starting A.J. Dillon as a number 2 running back. Dobbs, a number 3. I was encouraged by the fact that he actually got in a full practice. So I think he'll be okay. But again, a number 3, I think this is probably another low-scoring game. It's a little bit gross. This money has swung wildly towards Atlanta. I think they're now 2.5 point favorites in this game, with an over/under of around 40. So I wouldn't expect a lot of points.
Would you rather start Kelly or Dillon?
Dillon.
Dameon Pierce or Kelly?
Dillon, Kelly, Pierce.
Romeo Doubs or Jeudy?
I will go with Jeudy over Dobbs.
Okay. Dobbs or Nico Collins?
That might be a change that I have to make this morning. I had Collins over those guys. I'm going to stick with Collins over Dobbs. It's hard to ignore how many targets Collins had in week 1.
Yeah, I think 11. Amari Cooper aggravated a groin injury. Have you changed his ranking at all, Amari Cooper?
I would like to stay away from Amari Cooper if I can. He's behind almost all of these guys that we've been talking about. I did bump Elijah Moore up a little bit. It's a bad thing when you re-aggravate an injury on a Saturday and he plays on Monday night. So you can't have any confidence that he's actually going to play.
Okay, good point. And Seattle and Baltimore and possibly Pittsburgh will be without 2 starters on their offensive line. Does that change anything for the Seahawks, the Ravens, or the Steelers?
It's a little bit less appealing to start Najee Harris, I think. I didn't have any interest in starting a lot of those other guys, but I'm not downgrading. Like the Ravens, who knows who their lead running back's going to be. Ken Walker is the best of the bunch as a low-end number 2 running back.
All right, let's spend 30 seconds on questions here. Who would you sit? Nacua, Cooper, Moore, or Marquise Brown?
Well, I think you had none of these guys play on Monday, do they? I think you have to sit Cooper.
Tyler Lockett or Terry McLaurin, PPR.
Lockett.
Rashad White or AJ Dillon.
Dillon.
Pick 2. Kadarius Toney, Michael Thomas, Brian Robinson, Javonte Williams.
I will go with Javonte Williams, and if it's full PPR, Michael Thomas, otherwise Robinson.
And we'll do one more here. Jamal Williams or George Kittle, PPR.
That is quite a question. I was not prepared for a tight end versus a running back. I think I'm going to go with Javonte Williams. I expect a bounce back.
Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams. I'm going to go with him too.
All right, great. All right, that's Heath Cummings. I'm Adam Azer. Good luck in Fantasy Week 2, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. We have a live stream, 11:30 a.m. Eastern today, okay? Join us, youtube.com/fantasyfootball today. We're answering your questions for an hour and a half.